What if we told you two of the most powerful billionaires in the world have completely opposite watches on their wrists? One treats a watch like a simple tool, something you can buy for the price of a cheap dinner. The other turns a watch into a multi-million-dollar statement piece that takes years to build. And when you place their most expensive watches side by side, the difference is so extreme, it almost feels unreal. Today, we're putting Bill Gates and Jay-Z's most iconic watches head to head, and the results might shock you. In round one, we're starting with a simple sports watch on one side and a $2.5 million sapphire masterpiece watch that helped redefine hip-hop luxury collaborations on the other. First up is the TAG Heuer Professional 2000. This luxury sports watch stands out as one of the most expensive watches ever publicly associated with Bill Gates, with a value of around $1,200 to $1,800. Well, that sounds bizarre, but for Bill Gates, it's rather unique. Compared to the affordable Casios usually seen on his wrist, this was a noticeable step up. The watch gained attention when it appeared at a conference in the Philippines, where a watch enthusiast guessed its value at only $600. Instead of correcting him, the watch was simply handed over as a gift. Somehow, even a luxury watch ended up as part of a story of generosity. Now compare that to the Richard Mille RM 056 blueprint. This isn't just a watch, it's more like an engineering experiment wrapped around a wrist. Originally created from sapphire crystal and later customized by celebrity jeweler Alex Todd using transparent blue sapphire, the piece was designed to celebrate Jay-Z's legendary Blueprint album. The watch allows you to see the tourbillon movement operating inside and reportedly required more than 3,000 hours of craftsmanship to complete. It was spotted during Blueprint performances at Webster Hall and at the NAACP Image Awards. With an estimated value of $2.5 million, it's one of the most recognizable Richard Mille creations ever worn. Now, one watch became famous because it was given away. The other became famous because almost nobody on earth could ever own one. That was practicality versus pure spectacle. But the next comparison takes us from an early smartwatch to one of the most sought-after Patek Philippe's ever made. With that, we move forward with round two, comparing a forgotten smartwatch versus the $6.5 million Tiffany Grail. The Microsoft Spot watch, worn by Bill Gates, arrived years before smartwatches became part of everyday life. Released in 2004, the name stood for Smart Personal Object Technology, and the watch could display weather forecasts, stock updates, and even instant messages directly on the wrist. At a time when most watches simply told the time, this one was trying to bring the internet to your arm. Today, these discontinued pieces are considered collector items worth around $150, serving as a reminder of how ahead of its time the concept really was. Now standing on the other side is the Patek Philippe Nautilus Tiffany 5711, a watch that created chaos throughout the luxury watch world. Produced in 2021 as a collaboration between Patek Philippe and Tiffany Co, the watch features the now famous Tiffany blue dial and was limited to only 170 pieces worldwide. While its original retail price was just over $50,000, auction fever quickly pushed the value to a staggering $6.5 million. Jay-Z became the first celebrity publicly seen wearing one, making an already impossible to find watch even more legendary. Now, one watch tried to predict the future, the other became one of the most expensive steel watches in modern history. And what makes this comparison even more interesting is the timing. The Microsoft Spot watch was released in 2004, when the idea of a smartwatch was still almost unheard of in mainstream consumer tech. Meanwhile, the Patek Philippe Nautilus Tiffany 5711 didn't just become expensive because of craftsmanship. Its value exploded due to extreme scarcity, celebrity association, and auction hype all hitting at the same time. In one case, the watch was ahead of its time. In the other, it became a symbol of timing the market perfectly in luxury culture. But that's just the beginning of one of the most interesting watch comparisons, so if you're enjoying this billionaire watch battle, hit the like button and subscribe, because it only gets wild from here. Now before we go further into extreme luxury, the comparison shifts into something more grounded, where everyday practicality meets one of the most legendary vintage Rolex chronographs in history. Moving on, we step into one of the most fascinating comparisons where extreme simplicity in everyday watch wear goes head to head with one of the most iconic chronographs. On one side is the Casio Duro MDV106 1AV, a rugged dive watch priced at around $84 that perfectly represents the idea of function over fashion. It features a black face, stainless steel case, resin strap, and 200-meter water resistance, making it built purely for durability rather than display. There's nothing flashy about it, no luxury branding, and no attempt to signal status. Yet, despite its simplicity, it's become one of the most recognizable watches associated with Bill Gates, often seen in everyday environments where practicality clearly outweighs prestige. It's the kind of watch that feels more like a tool from a hardware store than a luxury boutique, and that contrast alone makes it even more interesting when you consider who's wearing it. But now shift completely into another world with the Rolex Daytona 6263 Tiffany Co, one of the most legendary vintage Rolex models ever seen in modern luxury culture. This isn't just a watch, it's a collector's artifact that blends horological history with cultural status. Featuring the iconic Paul Newman dial along with the rare Tiffany Co stamping, this stainless steel chronograph has become one of the most desired vintage Rolex variations ever created. Its significance goes beyond design, and Jay-Z's version of this watch makes it a symbol of both rarity and prestige in the modern luxury world. One watch quietly does its job without asking for attention. The other carries decades of history, celebrity ownership, and collector obsession on its dial. And just when this contrast feels extreme enough, the next round shifts from pure mechanical simplicity to one of the most complex mechanical masterpieces ever created. Now, the final round and the most anticipated comparison that made the cut to our list goes from pure everyday utility to one of the most complicated watches ever built in modern Swiss horology. On one hand, Bill Gates' Casio W214H 1AV Illuminator sports watch is about as straightforward as a digital watch can get, priced at just $25 and designed entirely around function. It includes practical features like an LED light, a stopwatch, a countdown timer, and multiple alarms, making it a reliable companion for everyday use. There is no luxury finishing, no mechanical depth, and no hidden complexity, just a clean, efficient timekeeping tool. It reflects a very grounded philosophy. Time should be easy to track, easy to use, and accessible to anyone. It's the kind of watch that exists in the background of daily life, doing its job without ever trying to stand out. On the other hand, now compare that with the Patek Philippe Grandmaster Chime 6300G, a watch that sits at the absolute peak of traditional watchmaking complexity. Jay-Z was spotted wearing a Patek Philippe Grandmaster Chime. This masterpiece contains 20 complications and an astonishing 1,500 individual components, making it feel more like a precision-engineered machine than something worn on the wrist. It features dual dials, chiming mechanisms, and an overall construction that represents some of the most advanced craftsmanship Patek Philippe has ever produced. Watches of this level are not just rare, they're almost unreachable, with secondary market values around $2.5 million. It's the kind of timepiece that is not simply owned, but studied, admired, and preserved as part of horological history. Now, one watch is built to make timekeeping as simple and accessible as possible. The other is designed to push the limits of human engineering until time itself becomes a mechanical performance. And that's it! So after 4 rounds of completely opposite worlds, one thing becomes very clear. On one side, you have watches built around function, simplicity, and innovation. On the other side, you have watches that exist at the absolute peak of craftsmanship, rarity, and status. And yet, both worlds belong to billionaires who shaped entire industries. So the real question is simple. If you had to choose, would you go for function or flex? And let us know in the comments down below if you want more billionaire wrist comparisons like this. See you next time.